Hello and welcome to my thesis presentation. My thesis is called Chiedza Solar Village, and it is a Journeyman International project to design an agricultural training center in Zimbabwe. My name is Hannah Oitzman and I'm in studio Sandy Stannard. Zimbabwe used to export produce to its neighbors, but now Zimbabwe can't even feed itself. Politically and racially motivated land reform in the 2000s took land from white commercial farmers and gave it to blacks who weren't previously farmers. Food production fell and the economy tanked. Zimbabwe needs a re-energization of its agricultural industry. Partnering with Journeyman International, a humanitarian design nonprofit, Foundations for Farming, a local agricultural training nonprofit, and Canotech, a local solar company, this project seeks to empower locals to run successful farms and escape poverty. A 50-megawatt solar field and a 50-homestead village will be built on the site of a previously white-owned tobacco farm, an hour outside of the capital of Zimbabwe. This thesis consists of the master planning of the development and the design of the stewardship center, where Foundations for Farming will train locals in sustainable agriculture techniques. The locals will then host trainings at the stewardship center for poor farmers throughout Zimbabwe. This project will serve as the hub for a resurgence of agriculture in Zimbabwe and foster relationships with nature, one's community, oneself, and beyond. This first image shows the stewardship center from the community area, and you can see the outdoor classroom at the left and the view through the building to the field, which was really important in my design concept. Here are some of our partners, and Robert Garland is the architectural engineer who's engineering this project. Foundations for Farming teaches zero-tillage farming, which is inspired by natural ecosystems where humans are not present to till the land. The soil is disturbed minimally and a mulch cover is used, which makes the soil healthier and retain water better. And as you can see, the climate, it has a hot, wet season and a cooler, dry season. So natural ventilation is really important. Zooming in from Zimbabwe to the site next to Harare, here's the site located south of Lake Chivero and about an hour outside of Harare. Master planning the site, I located the 2 solar fields, with phase 1 being just 5 megawatts on each site to phase 2 being 20 additional megawatts on each site, and the village homesteads away from all of the trees that were existing on the site already. This road already exists, and there's a farmhouse here, which is going to be demolished. It was from the colonial era and it's just kind of falling apart now. But the really great thing on the site is all of the trees. So we're going to pay special attention to these 2 trees, and I'll reference them again later. How big is the site? It's really big. It is 650 hectares in total, which is about the size of Cal Poly's campus core, but we'll be focusing on just one building in the community center. In preparation for this project, I was able to visit Rwanda with Journeyman International, which is where they're headquartered. Although we weren't able to visit the site in Zimbabwe, I still got a taste for African culture. We visited completed projects like the Sunzu Library and got to interview and talk with a lot of locals, including Kuda, who was from Zimbabwe originally. I also designed this piece of furniture for the 5th year furniture competition called Vellum. It was inspired by traditional African design of a carved wooden stool, but using materials that I have found in my own area. So I found these free chairs on the side of the road and thought that they would be the perfect ingredients to make these stools. As I was taking the chairs apart, I noticed the mortise and tenon joint of the original chair and wanted to really highlight that in the detail of the finished stool. Some takeaways from this project for my thesis were that I didn't want to just copy a vernacular design, but be inspired by it and adapt it to my own context and my own design. And I also thought a lot about the potential of things to tell their story. Like with this joint detail, I want the history of the site and its people to be told in my building. So continuing on to the village plan, this is the 50 homesteads plus 5 additional homes without land for people who are working in the community center. The main entry road is from this side, and then there's a roundabout in the center here that's kind of a hub for all of the homesteads. And there's kind of an implied visual connection, like you could almost look from your front porch to the market. I analyzed patterns around the village on Google Maps and wanted to create something that felt Zimbabwean, but also had yeah, that felt Zimbabwean, but also referenced the geometry of the site and was respectful to these trees around. So yeah, the concept diagram is really coming into this roundabout and then going out to the homesteads. Vernacular homesteads are a collection of huts where an extended family would live. There would be one for the kitchen and then separate huts for bedrooms. And then kind of the living space is all in between the huts. Trees are often used as gathering spaces in Zimbabwean culture, and they provide shade from the hot summer sun, and people often just sit on the ground or on wooden benches or stools. So zooming into the community center here, you see the entry road and that roundabout. There's a parking lot here, and then everyone would walk into the center of the village. So whether you're driving or walking, you walk into the center of the village here. I really wanted the market to be the first thing that you see when you enter the village. So you can see here the market to the left with all of the produce on display, and then kind of this gathering space under the main tree here, which I referenced in the site photos, and then the stewardship center beyond. So yeah, phase one of the design would be the stewardship center, market, meeting hall, kitchen, and bathrooms, so that the stewardship center can really get up and running and training the people who are moving into the village, and then they can sell their produce at the market. And then phase two will be adding the dorms for training locals around the site, and then adding the library, health center, and school. So I divided the program into these kind of three sections: equip, gather, and learn. So equip is for foundations for farming, the demonstration field, dorms, and stewardship center, centered around this tree here. Gather is for the whole community, with the market, meeting hall, and kitchen around this tree here. And then learn is centered around the school, mostly with these trees down here and the soccer field on this side. So zooming into the stewardship center, you enter the stewardship center on this path from the market, and there's kind of an entry front porch, meeting room to your right, and office to your left. And then coming from the dorms, there's this kind of gathering space. You can hang out before classes and look out towards the field. The indoor and outdoor classroom is really important for Foundations for Farming. As you can see in their training schedule here, they spend the mornings in an indoor lesson and the afternoons outdoors in the field or in a covered area if it's raining. So yeah, having both the indoor and outdoor classroom have a strong connection to the field is very important for their trainings. You can see from the indoor classroom, there's always a view out to the field, and the outdoor classroom really feels like you're just outside under a tree. So looking at the site section, you go all the way from the demonstration field to this kind of shaded morning tea patio for the Foundations for Farming trainees, to the Stewardship Center classroom here with a connection, visual connection right to the demonstration field, and then kind of the community gathering space and the meeting hall on this end. So now we'll watch a short video walkthrough of the Stewardship Center. So this is the view kind of from the front of the community center, and you can see the outdoor classroom here. This wall has been changed, but I'm going to talk about that later. So walking from the community center, you see the big tree here and the view right out to the field through the building. There's kind of a front porch with an integrated bench here, the office to your left, and then the meeting hall to your right, the meeting room. This is kind of the gathering space for people coming into the classrooms with the door right here. The dorms are out there and the field, and then the outdoor classroom and the indoor classroom with a lot of light, especially with the clerestory window. And yeah, the outdoor classroom, this wall is going to be opened with a screen and then a view out to the field. So when you're in the outdoor classroom, you're really just looking at the teacher and the field. And then that kind of shaded morning tea patio connects directly through the Stewardship Center to the community gathering space with the market and meeting hall here. And from the outdoor classroom, you're really directly connected to the field beyond. So yeah, one thing I changed after making that video was getting rid of that wall in the outdoor classroom and adding a sliding screen. It'll help, I think, with both shade and privacy. There's a screen on the east side and the west side of the room so that you can adjust the shade for the morning versus afternoon and enclose the space or leave it really open. I wanted all of the materials to be very natural and local to the site. There's local mud brick, confined masonry, inverted box rib metal roofing, which is a very common type of roofing in Africa. It's like a step up from corrugated roofing. And then a lot of woven materials like the ceiling mat and textiles and kind of a woven screen above the confined masonry here. And one of the most important details was this integrated bench design. I wanted, kind of some built-in furniture that you could sit on as well. So in conclusion, this project emphasizes the connection to nature through views and indoor-outdoor spaces to serve as a hub for the resurgence of agriculture in Zimbabwe. Thank you for watching.